If you look throughout human history, labor has been the #1 sold thing. Whether it be through slavery or whether it be through your work and you give me money in return for the work that I do, or whatever the case may be, but it's always been that labor is the most valuable thing. And we as a society are making ourselves very lazy, especially Americans. So the video I got for you today is from Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs, and he breaks it down a little bit more as well, and I'm going to review it as we go here because I think this is super important. Super important. And I'll delve more and I'll mention some other things as we go here because I want him to say some things and intro some more ideas. But it is important that we teach our kids and people how to work hard. Our bodies are not meant to just sit around, lay around, and become obese. Look at the obesity problem in our country today. There are many health concerns and health risks that come with that. And I'm not trying to make this a conversation about obesity or any of that.
But at its heart is the question of national character. Is this a country that respects labor?
And telling ourselves that that labor is unimportant and that you're stupid if you work hard. So with that being said, if you haven't hit that like and subscribe button yet, go ahead and do that now. And let's roll into it.
I want to talk to you about America's changing relationship to work.
This is not just an economic problem. It's not just a transactional problem that affects employers and employees. I think 11 million open positions says something fundamental about our country, about our relationship with work.
We've declared war on work as a society, all of us. It's a civil war. It's a Cold War, really. We didn't set out to do it, and we didn't twist our mustache in some Machiavellian way, but we've done it.
In our pursuit of making our lives better and working smarter, not harder, we have in some ways villainized hard work and made people believe that if you work hard or you're part of the labor force, that you're below people who work in the tech field, or you're below somebody who works in an office somewhere, that you're below these people.
When we elevate certain jobs, then we can't help but denigrate others. When we deem some vocations essential, we can't help but tacitly deem others non-essential. When we talk about some forms of education as higher, then we implicitly suggest that everything else is lower. The language has a huge role in our relationship with work.
And so as a society, on accident, by trying to make our lives easier and trying to make our lives better, we've made the people who are the foundation of what makes America great, we've made them out to be losers. And people who didn't try hard enough in life because they didn't get college degrees, or because they're not business owners, or because they're not important enough. Even through the way that working class people view raising their children. Working class people look at even our own jobs and say, we want our kids to do better than us. What are we saying then about ourselves and what we do as working class people? We want to hoist our children up out of what is allowing our children the very foundation that is providing for those children.
Hard times create hard men. Hard men create soft times. Soft times create soft men. Soft men create hard times. We are now around soft men and hard times.
In Hollywood, the way we portray working people on TV, it's laughable. If there's a plumber, he's 300 pounds and he's got a giant butt crack, admit it. You've seen him all the time. We turn them into heroes, or we turn them into punchlines. That's what TV does.
It's not just TV. It's everything that we see in our culture today makes it out to be that if you work hard and you have dirt under your fingernails, then you're a loser. Even people who, one of the first things people do when they meet each other is ask, well, what do you do for a living? And you instantaneously will feel a cascade of different emotions from having to tell someone else what you do for a living and what you think that person is going to judge you based off of.
One of the issues with social media it's been pointed out by many people, is that people look like they have a much better life than they really do. Everyone on Instagram, you might think, man, there are all these happy, beautiful people, and I'm not that good looking and I'm not happy, so I must suck.
Or we still need workers and not just managers, celebrities, and all the people at the top. Somebody still has to make food at McDonald's. Somebody still has to mow the grass. Somebody still has to farm our lands. Someone still has to stock shelves at Walmart.
Dirty Jobs began as an attempt to reconnect the country to fundamental things. Where's your energy come from? Where's your food come from? Remember who's doing the work.
So many of the commercials that come out there in the way of a message, what's really being said? Your life would be better if you could work a little less, if you didn't have to work so hard, if you could get home a little earlier, if you could retire a little faster, if you could punch out a little sooner. It's all in there, over and over again and again.
Never ever before has the recruiting crisis been so keen. They're offering $20, $25 to learn a trade, and they can't attract people to do it.
So we're plugged in, we're connected. I would never suggest for a second that something bad has come out of the tech revolution. Good grief, not to this crowd.
He wouldn't, but I would. What's been sold is that the jobs that we should all be having, the jobs of the future, which they are, don't get me wrong, but there's still jobs of the past that need to be filled as well. Labor jobs need to be filled, but the tech industry has sold this idea that that's all that exists. The only future that we have is in computers, programming, and all of this, the tech advances that we will have. Forgetting the fact that all the world still exists. Grocery stores, truck driving, plumbing, electrician, drywallers, framers, concrete workers, all these different things still exist.
We have to do a more persuasive job of making a case for the opportunities that exist. And if we don't, we're going to have a workforce that is wildly out of balance with itself.
But I would suggest that innovation without imitation is a complete waste of time. And nobody celebrates imitation the way Dirty Jobs guys know it has to be done. Your iPhone without those people making the same interface, the same circuitry, the same board over and over, all that, that's what makes it equally as possible as the genius that goes inside of it.
I think one of the things that's being missed here is that most of the people who get involved in the tech fields and get involved in the, more of a, white collar jobs, they don't really want to work hard. They're pursuing a job in these industries because they know that it'll pay good without as much physical labor.
We're not going to have a shortage of sports marketing degrees here. We're going to have a shortage of plumbers, electricians.
In addition to the fact that all of the younger people who are exiting college nowadays, and even the last few years, last decade, have been sold the idea that every one of them is the next Steve Jobs. Every one of them is the next Mark Zuckerberg. So every one of them goes into these industries thinking that they are the innovator, thinking that they're the genius that makes the new thing, and somebody else is going to be the duplicator. Somebody else is going to be the one who just makes a chip and makes another chip and then makes another chip, or makes this, the screen for a phone and then makes another screen and makes another screen, and doesn't realize that the duplication is, like he said, just as important, but no one goes into any of these fields with the idea of just being even a common labor worker within the tech field.
The thing to do is to talk about a PR campaign for work. Manual labor, skilled labor. Somebody needs to be out there talking about the forgotten benefits. I'm talking about grandfather stuff, the stuff a lot of us probably grew up with, but we've kind of lost.
I think it goes right to our identity as a people.
But at its heart is the question of national character. Is this a country that respects labor?
Let's confront some of the stigmas, some of the stereotypes, the myths and the misperceptions that keep people from pursuing the very positions that are currently open.
It's clearly illustrated in the fact that we can't seem to hire people as part of the trucking industry, the supply chain. We can't get grocery store workers, we can't get laborers, we can't get restaurant workers. We have a massive shortage in the working class workforce of America, but we have no problems hiring tech people. We have no problems hiring programmers. They have no problems hiring managers or supervisors in any industry. But we have a real hard time finding and employing people to do the work and make the money for the companies that need them.
Where's your energy come from? Where's your food come from?
This war on work that I suppose exists has casualties like any other war. The infrastructure is the first one. Declining trade school enrollments are the second one. Every single year, fewer electricians, fewer carpenters, fewer plumbers, fewer welders, fewer pipe fitters, fewer steam fitters.
Never ever before has the recruiting crisis been so keen. They're offering $20, $25 to learn a trade, and they can't attract people to do it. So we have to do a more persuasive job of making a case for the opportunities that exist. And if we don't, we're going to have a workforce that is wildly out of balance with itself.
The infrastructure jobs that everybody is talking about creating are those guys, the ones that have been in decline over and over. Meanwhile, we got $2 trillion at a minimum, according to the American Society of Civil Engineers, that we need to expend to even make a dent in the infrastructure, which is currently rated at a D-.
So as our government's talking about green jobs and chip factories and all these different things, and then giving away student loans to all the people who are not going to be doing those infrastructure jobs, because none of those infrastructure jobs that we're talking about require college degrees.
It's about making college more unnecessary. It's a giant scam. Most jobs they do not really require. It's a scam.
I think we need to focus on apprenticeships. I would have actually tied it to the hard-to-fill jobs. We have 10 million job openings right now in our country.
And that's a great idea, but the problem is we already spent the money, and now we've now favored college students again. We've now favored the upper education again. We've reinforced the negative behavior that is creating the decline of our infrastructure that, as he just said, is a D.
The jobs we hope to make and the jobs we hope to create aren't going to stick unless they're jobs that people want.
50 years ago, 70% of good jobs required a high school diploma. Now, they say 70% require a college degree.
15 years ago, for every 5 tradesmen that retired, 2 replaced them. This is what Abraham Lincoln called a terrible arithmetic.
I know that clean and dirty aren't opposites. They're two sides of the same coin, just like innovation and imitation, like risk and responsibility.
You know, all jobs at a company are needed, and nobody's actually more important than anybody else. But yet we sell a world where if you're at the bottom, you're worse off than the people at the top. Financially, you may be, but the people at the top need you more than the people at the bottom need the people at the top, which I think is interesting. So we as people have very much lost sight and have counterbalanced the necessity of labor versus thinking we need more management, thinking we need more Instagram stars, thinking that we need more celebrities, we need more laborers, we need more people willing to work hard for a living. And those are the jobs that we'll always need more than any management job, more than any celebrity. It's just that we've made these jobs out to be horrible jobs. And we're not going in the other direction. Every time we turn around, we're going in the wrong direction. Look at what we just did with the student loan bailout.
We've just asked millions and millions and millions of people who have worked really, really hard from the moment they got out of high school, who have built businesses, who create jobs. We're asking those people to write the check for $1.7 trillion in outstanding student loans from people who went another way, who made another choice.
The poor are 2/3 of American kids who don't get a college degree. are going to say, why should the people who didn't go to college and make less money subsidize the people who did go and make more?
The student loan bailout reinforced the anti-work to astronomical levels. Because now we have to consider the fact is anybody who goes to college from now on is going to think that it should be paid for.
The vast majority of Americans didn't go to college.
This is a mental stigma that we're creating, and we're not going in a different direction. We do need to, as people, need to push labor, need to sell labor to our children and tell them that, like many of my friends who are in the labor market, we make plenty of money to have good lives. But we don't need Instagram, Facebook, and celebrities telling us that if we don't have what they have, that we're losers.
People look like they have a much better life than they really do.
That we're no good because we're not celebrities, because we're not special on TV or special on Instagram or Facebook. This has become an attack on the working class, and it's being perpetuated by the people who think that they're better than the working class. And with that being said, hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't yet, because I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers and I really need your guys' help. Thanks for watching. Later.